to make some introductions and let you know that we have some dignitaries in the room here, and I'm so glad that they're here as well. Ms. Keisha Mays, board member, is here, so thank you for being here, Ms. Mays. Mr. Justin Chapa, also a board member, thank you for being here. Aaron Prowles, Director of Parent Engagement, thank you for being here today. And then Mr. Hill, Assistant Superintendent over Administration, thank you. Also in the audience, you know, this is a network thing. We serve East Arlington together, and also introduce a couple of principals that are also in the audience tonight, working with me, kind of just doing the things we need to do for our students, for your children. Jackie McClendon, Principal of Workman Junior High. And Ginger LaBelle, Principal of McNutt. Thank you. Ms. McClendon, Ms. LaBelle, also the principal from Patrick Elementary, Ms. Myers, and the principal from Morton, Tashalon McDonald. We're currently working on book studies. We're really doing our best to kind of do some things together to address the needs of our students. Currently we're conducting a book study called Culture of Love, and another book study that we're currently working on is Boys in Crisis. And I think after today's discussion, we're trying to come up with some ways that we can address the needs of our students. And again, that's something that, again, I appreciate their partnership in doing that together. So, tonight at the town hall meeting, we are here to discuss the incidents that occurred last week, and also provide a timeline, accurate information for you to let you know things that we can confirm. We're continuing to analyze and discuss the things that have happened over the last week, and then what led to the lockdown on Friday. And then we want to let you know how we decide to go into lockdown. What are the things that we think about, what's on our minds, and how we, again, try to make sure that we are very, very safe here for our students and also our staff. We'll give you guys some information about what the students think about campus safety, what the staff thinks about student safety, and then also share our campus beliefs and values and our practices. And in the end, we want you to give us your input based on the information we give you. So there'll be a couple of times during the presentation that we ask that you kind of think about a question. You may write in Spanish or in English. Mr. Roscoe will answer the questions in Spanish, and then I'll answer the ones in English. And I want to thank my administrative staff who's also in the audience too. Ms. Vasquez is currently translating, one of our new assistant principals, thank you. Ms. Simones, Mr. Williams, Dr. Reese, Mr. Cavazos. We also have Ms. Holloway also. And so thank you guys for being here tonight. Ms. Orozco is going to give us the timeline. She is our associate principal, and I'm going to let her take over because I was not even in the building from Wednesday to Friday. She was the acting principal in charge.
Good evening. As Mr. Benavides mentioned, my name is Rosa Orozco. I'm the associate principal on campus. Tonight, my goal is to share with you a timeline of events of what we have understood to occur prior to the lockdown and after the lockdown. I want to begin with Thursday, February 14th. That morning, we were made aware of a fight that had occurred Wednesday after school on Arkansas Lane. Thursday morning, the administrative staff worked diligently to identify the students that were involved in the fight from Wednesday. There were approximately 14 male students identified from that fight. We assigned discipline according to the student code of conduct. In addition, on Friday, February 15th, we were made aware of a fight that occurred at the Vineyard Apartments across the street from Arkansas Lane. This fight, to our understanding, is retaliation from the fight on Wednesday. As you're aware, on Friday morning, we also had an incident in our courtyard where we had multiple fights from approximately 9 to 15 students. We also had approximately about 100 students who were in the courtyard that were just spectators of the fight or filming the fight. I also want to be mindful of the fact that there were about 3,500 students in their classrooms at this time. So those students were following the rules and compliant with what the school has expected of them. Once we were made aware of the fight, of course, security and administration, along with our SRO Davis, so our police officer on campus, immediately entered the courtyard to apprehend the students who were involved in the fight, to stop the fighting, and to clear the courtyard. So that was handled in a matter of minutes. SRO Davis also contacted Arlington Police Department to secure more officers on the campus. Shortly after the fight on the courtyard, we received information regarding a tip of a possible weapon on campus during the fights. SRO Davis and administration began an investigation, and we made a determination to put the campus on lockdown due to this possible threat. Immediately, we had more Arlington Police Departments in the building. We had administrative staff from central office and additional security guards in the campus with us. We conducted an investigation in which we thoroughly searched for the suspect that we thought could potentially have a weapon. We searched different locations in addition to the suspect, and we searched the courtyard. Following this investigation, we determined that the threat was not verified and a weapon was not found on campus. Due to this, then we released the lockdown. At this point, we had missed about 10 minutes of the first lunch, so we had a modified lunch schedule for the remainder of the afternoon. In the afternoon, we began hearing more tips and rumors of the possibility of students coming to the building to potentially fight. So at approximately 1:45 p.m., we conducted a perimeter lockout, meaning that we wouldn't have any other students entering the building until the end of the school day. At approximately 2:40, we started a gradual release of all students, with the 9th grade center first. So the 9th graders were released early to get onto their bus and ride home with their parents. At 2:50, we released all of the remaining students. The administrative staff here at Sam Houston is committed to ensuring safety for our students. We are continuing to investigate these situations and assign discipline according to our student code of conduct.
Thank you, Mr. Roscoe. I felt like it was important to let her kind of give you the timeline of events, and at this time, I want you, if you have any questions, to kind of drop those down. We'll be picking up cards toward the end, just to kind of, so we can go through the questions very quickly. But if you have any questions about what you think occurred and what you heard based on what your students said, like I said, please jot those down, okay? And then we'll go through those questions at the end. Also want to thank Ms. Orozco for, she is the second person in charge. She's over the 9th grade center. She is the acting principal when I'm not in the building. I oversee all the operations, of course, all the instructional operations, as well as the internal operations of the building. And again, she is, when we're here together, she's running the 9th grade center, as well as being instructional supports for accountability. We have 9 assistant principals here at San Diego High School. Okay? We break it down into small groups. 3 9th grade APs, 3 APs, assistant principals in the 10th grade, and then we have 3 APs in the 11th and 12th. We have 2 instructional deans, that's 1 more than the district formula, so we do get a lot of support from our district, and being a large campus with 3,615 students, again, we have additional support from the districts, which I greatly appreciate. It does help, and it is definitely needed. For emotional and social support of our students, we have 12 guidance counselors, that's 3 per grade level, that's a very small ratio, and I use title funding to support and add additional counselors to our staff. Again, using title funding, we have 2 behavior specialists, 1 in the 9th grade, 1 in the 10th grade. We also have a district support person that is a 9th grade dropout prevention specialist, and 3 social workers that serve our families in transition person, our students who are parenting, that's with PEP, parenting education, and then we also have a behavior specialist, a relationship and partnership we have with the city of Arlington, and she helps in the 11th and 12th grade. We have 2 school resource officers assigned to San Diego High School. That's 1 more than the district formula. All other schools and high schools have 2. Lamar and all other schools have 1. Lamar and San have 2. And then we have 12 regular AISD security officers assigned to the campus during the school day, 14 in the evening when they come in and do overlapping shifts. Again, that's more than district formula. Mr. Hill and the entire AISD security leadership team were present for most of the day on Friday when the lockdown occurred. And we greatly appreciate that. He was here to support us in all the ways that they could as a leadership team. So again, I share with this because again, these are the things that we have done, and we do this anytime this situation occurs like this, we're constantly debriefing, we're constantly looking at our practices, we're constantly sharing information with each other and trying to get to the root causes of these issues. It's also important to know that when we meet as a staff, every month I meet with my entire staff, all of my teachers, all of my support staff, and we even practice some scenarios. We go through situations that we could possibly see, and that was something that was modeled for us through our Arlington Police Department. I put out a survey of our students today. It was a one-day survey, so we didn't have all the students respond, but we had 1,603 responses from our students. We sent it out after oral announcements, and we see that 73% of our students that were surveyed today feel safe most of the time or all of the time. We have 19% that say that there are a few times that they don't feel safe, and again, this is right after the lockdown on Friday, so it's understandable that some of them are feeling, not so safe based on what we've gone through, right? But again, I wanted to make sure that we capture how they feel. In addition to this survey, I asked them what are things are going well, if there's anyone in particular that could help them or has been helpful to them, and then anybody they want to recognize that's really, been someone to what's good about Sam and how other people are helping them. Over and over and over again, we hear from the students that the teachers are what they think is best about Sam. Over and over and over again. That the teachers are here to help them, that the teachers are here to support them, that we're working with them and giving them multiple opportunities to be successful based on our values, based on our campus beliefs. I asked the staff the same questions. I actually gave them a little bit longer. I gave it to them on Saturday, and so they had a few days to fill it out, but basically the same. 73% of the staff feel safe all the time or most of the time. And again, because of some of the challenges that we see, it does take an emotional toll on some of our staff members. We're in there with the kids, we empathize with them, we try to give them supports, and again, we're working with them to help them meet their needs on a day-to-day basis. But again, I felt like that was also important to share and also important to prepare for tonight's town hall. And then I want you guys to see also the number of students that have referrals that are that Mr. Roscoe alluded to, the number of kids who were not in the courtyard, not part of the fighting that was going on in the courtyard on that Friday before the lockdown was called. But 79.9% of our students do not have a referral at all, not one referral. Out of all the referrals that we have up to date, and we have a total of 1,743, and that's everything from tardy, attendance, minor offenses. I'll show you the text here in a second. But out of that number, we only have, so that's about 723 kids who have one or more referral, and only 362 students have two or more. So about half of that only have just one, and it could be something as minor as being tardy more than 6 times their class, okay? But that tells you about, again, 80% of our students are compliant, they do what we ask them to do, they're part of, again, meeting the expectations we have for them. When you look at the types of incidents that we see, and this is all coming from our referral system, when teachers write a referral, send it through the system, it's already generated two different categories. The majority of our students that we see, or the majority of referrals we see, are students leaving campus, leaving class without permission, having somebody they need to talk to outside of the classroom, and so meeting that need, and sometimes just not going to their friends and talking to their friends or leaving campus. Those are things that they're challenges that we face on a day-to-day basis, but you can see that the majority of them are students skipping or leaving class without permission. Only 2% of all the referrals that we have are fighting, and up until this point, it's about the same that we had last year, about 40 fights up until this time. Okay. Again, based on the information that you see right now, there any questions? Maybe this would be a good time to maybe jot down a question if you have questions about the data that you see, or any comments or concerns.
What's the difference between the V and the hashtag?
The V and the hashtag, the V is like when we have something that's level 1 and 2, and where there's no out of placement. So kids are not going to OCS or choices for disrespecting or staffing a teacher. We've done 3% of them that we're having a conversation with them. We're having a meeting with them. We're calling parents. We're doing things that don't displace them out of the classroom, right? But the others, yeah, there's another area that we have to, I got a little number sign there. That means they have to serve a day of OCS or choices, right? Or a turning point, maybe if they're fighting or, again, using things. So typically, again, we're conferencing with kids a lot to make sure that they understand how to behave properly and be compliant with our rules according to the student code of conduct. But I will tell you that our goal is, and that's based on our values here that I'm going to talk about, is that we try to restore students all the time. We're trying to help them. We're trying to teach them to be respectful. We're trying to teach them the ways of, again, operating within the, the campus and the rules that we have established in place. If you look at our values, and I shared this with the staff today, and we talked about it as administrative staff, these are our values. This is what we stand for here at St. Luke's High School. We believe that all students have value. We believe that all staff members have value. We believe that parents have value. You have value. That's why we're having this meeting today. We believe that all students have the potential to learn. And we also believe that we must create equity and access for all our students. That means that we are leveling the playing field. So some of 80% of our students, 80 to 90%, just give or take a year, over the last 7 years, are on free reduced lunch. We know that economically it's a challenge. But being poor doesn't mean that you act poor, think poor, treat other people poorly. That's not an excuse for that. And when you look at the number of students we're talking about a small minority of the students we serve here at SAM. It's not that many. It's 20% of the kids getting that one or more referral, right? But it's a challenge that we have to continue working on, okay? And we need your help, right? We need your support. We need you to understand what we work with. And again, anytime you need anything at all from us, we're here to serve you. Because again, we believe that you have value and your input is greatly appreciated. Teamwork. We cannot do this alone. We work in teams throughout the building. Our assistant principals work in teams, our teachers work in teams, our counselors, they work in teams. Because no one person can do it alone, right? Providing the service that we need for your children. What does that mean? What does that look like? Well, here's what we talked about in terms of what does it look like on our campus? What are the systematic beliefs and the practices that we have on a day-to-day basis? And that's we're trying to remove systemic barriers in the educational system because we know traditional school does not work and we have to be innovative. We're encouraged to be innovative. We're encouraged to look at best practice. We're encouraged to look at book studies and learn because we're constantly learning. I'm the lead learner on this campus. I'm meeting with teachers so we can meet the needs that they have and also prepare them for a future that we don't even know exists. Right? That's important. We want your children to be successful by getting that diploma, being college or career ready, or being able to go into the military. That's how we measure graduation rates and success after graduation. Right? We also believe that providing students with the instructional supports and interventions are needed. I get money for Title I funding, I get money for Comp Ed, the district supports that, in addition to the local funding that we get. And again, those dollars are put to training, to additional staff, to additional supports, and helping your children. Meeting the social and emotional needs is a difficult one. We have students with a lot of challenges, a lot of things that they're going through, a lot of things that their parents can't help them with. And again, this is a day-to-day challenge that we have, meeting the needs of our students. Our graduation rate currently is 80%. And our goal now is to close that gap to 100%. But this is probably the most challenging part because these are students who have been traditionally underserved year after year after year, and now in high school, we've got 4 years to get them graduated. And it's difficult. It's difficult, but again, it's not something that can't be done, right? We continue working on that, and we continue working hard for that goal. And then finally, is providing quality service to our parents and to our staff members. I mean, we listen to their input, we are here to serve them, we are support staff, and that's what our goal is. But the goal is that they learn, and they get their credits, and then pass the state exams, and then take the tests that measure college readiness as well, so they can get into college. All right. So, at this time, we really do want your comments. Okay, that was our presentation that we wanted to share with you guys. If you have any questions at all, I want you guys to hold up your card or write it down in your questions, and then we're gonna, just so we can go through the questions quickly, we're gonna read them, okay? So if you can just hold them up, and then our assistant principal is gonna come around, and we're gonna pick them up, okay? All right. So here's a question, and we ask that you put your name on the back so we can follow up. If we don't have an answer, because we might not have an answer, then we will follow up with you later, okay? For the lockout, what is the procedure for the athletic students? If they're on the field, the track, and what perimeter supports for outdoor class activities? Great question. So we train with this. We do this all the time. We train with the staff. We go through the scenarios. But whenever we have a lockdown in the building, that means there's a threat inside. And so the goal is then that we get away from the threat. Okay? If there's an intruder in the building, we get into a safe classroom, to a closet, wherever the teacher do, all the doors are locked. But if they're outside of where the threat is, then their job is to go away from the threat. We train them to move away from the threat so it's not coming down. So we lock down, we're really locking down within each classroom in a small area where, again, our students are safe. Once that lockdown is called, the Arlington Police Department take over. Okay, the Arlington Police Department take over, and then they, provide the supports that they need. Because again, most times when we think about a lockdown, it's really when there possibly could be an active shooter or a weapon on campus. Okay, and the goal is at that point is to limit the casualties and injuries. Okay, and take out the threat. And that's again training with our Arlington Police Department. And then some perimeter supports for outdoor class activities. Again, the coaches are taught that they are to go away from the threat as far away as possible. And that means they take their children, they take their student athletes to wherever that safe place would be. Okay? Were the majority of students involved freshmen, most of the fights, as most fights are? First question. So 50% of the students that were involved in the recent conflicts are either 9th or 10th grade. Yes. Several references were made on social media as to the racism being in the initial cause of the fighting. Is there any verification of that? No. These were all mixed students, all races. Arabic, Hispanic, and African American. Yep, I mean those are the three that I can recall. We do see some elements of colors, and that they are claiming to have an association. Right? You can call it gay if you want to. We have not seen anything up until recently, and what we have done as a result is that we are issuing gang warning letters and appropriately treating it as a gang issue because of the association that they're claiming. I think what I shared with staff about that was that these are students in need of connection. If you do any of the research about students that are involved in gangs, is they're doing it because they have no connection, they're seeking a connection. We encourage all our students to be engaged in something beyond the school, athletics, extracurricular, band, AVID, many things, right? These are kids who don't have that connection. The connection is their friends. They are ones that we see that family is blood, right? They're related to their family members via blood, but the people that are there for them, they feel, right, that these are their homeboys, right? These are their partners that they run with, right? And so this is the kind of associations that they form because they're looking for that connection. And we talk about that as a staff. That's an area of need that we have for them. Mr. Roski, you want to
Okay, so the first question that I have is the same question that Mr. Benavides had in regards to cuando los estudiantes están afuera en el gimnasio, si están seguros durante un lockdown. And so as Mr. Benavides stated, when students are in gym, is there a place for them to go? And yes, they do have a lockdown place and there are secure doors on that, in that situation.
Okay, here's another one. What is the course of action for students being bystanders during a fight? So, if they are part of the instigation, we assign discipline appropriately. It's proportional. If it's a major campus disruption, it's proportional. All discipline that we assign is based on student code of conduct, and it's based on a proportion and the level of involvement they have within a conflict. Okay? And then how often do you practice lockdown safety? We have 3 a year, I believe. and we do two practice ones and two real ones. I'm sorry, one, not so, I say real, but really it's one with the Arlington Police Department. Like, we don't even know when it happens, and then the Arlington Police Department with AISD Security conduct a lockdown. So we had one in the fall, and that was our practice, and we still have two more practice, but we've already had two real ones as well, recently, the last 2 weeks. Okay. How often do you practice lockdown? Okay, that was it. Good.
This question is in regards to bathroom permission during the lockdown. ¿Por qué no dan permiso a los niños de ir al baño? So during the lockdown, students are required to remain in the room during that time with the lockdown procedures, and so we follow that. The next question I have is, ¿cómo ayudan a las familias que tienen temor de denunciar importante información y no de denunciar? So it's in regards to how do we assist anyone who has important information to give us? This is a really good question. We do have Crime Stoppers, and we have an anonymous hotline where anyone can call in and make a tip anonymously. So sí tenemos una línea para que ustedes denuncien esa información sin dar su nombre o sin dar quiénes son ustedes.
Okay, here's a good question. If a gun is found, what will be done to ensure our kids' safety? So APD, old school, guns on campus are a felony, and the appropriate legal action is taken. We typically file charges against them, and like I said, the city of Arlington then follows through with whatever the law that the students have broken. So, and I will tell you that when it comes to, when we get tips and rumors of a weapon, which again, encourage your children to talk to us, encourage your children to give us those anonymous tips. We follow every tip that we get, and if we verify that there's a weapon on campus that potentially could harm or hurt someone, we follow up. If we don't have it, again, we follow through to the very end, and assign appropriate consequences as needed. But again, when it comes to finding weapons on campus, we all deal with this struggle. Okay, this is not a prison. It's a school, right? So we don't run the school like a prison, but we do have 3 locations where we want all students to come in, and it's in the cafeteria and the 2 commons area, and that's it. We don't want any student coming in from any other door. We have multiple doors all around the building, but it's only for escape. It's only to evacuate the building if we need for fire or emergency. There's only 3 entrances, and every student is required to have an ID. If they don't have an ID, they're supposed to have a temporary assigned to them. Okay?
¿Por qué no usan todo el tiempo los detectores de metal? So why do we not use metal detectors at all times? We do conduct random metal checks. In addition to, we also conducted metal checks this morning, and any time that we have tips or beliefs that there could be a weapon on campus, we do metal checks and random searches of students.
Okay.
This question is in regards to if the school district could provide a psychologist, which they do. Our campuses do work with a psychologist, and we do have referrals for students, in addition to the social workers and counselors in the building. Esta pregunta fue sobre el psicólogo. Sí tenemos aquí en la escuela, además tenemos consejeras y ayudantes.
So why was there a 30-minute lapse between my student telling me about the lockdown and the tele-parent call? Great question. In the moment, the first thing we're doing is we're trying to find as much information about the issue itself. So everyone is assigned to a certain role, a certain part of the building, and again, I wasn't on campus. We actually had another principal that was out that day, so we were shorthanded just that one day. But again, everyone covers for each other. We have backups, and again, it takes time. The 30-minute lapse is so we can begin making sure that we were, first of all, safe as a campus. Once we determined that the lockdown should be lifted, the campus was safe, and then the information was going to go out, then we felt comfortable in telling you. Of course, we're talking to the parents. So we're talking to the students, we're talking to the teachers, we're releasing the lockdown. So we have, again, 3,615 students, over 250 teachers, going door to door, making sure that everyone understands that we are safe and we resume normal procedures. Takes a little bit of time, and that 30-minute lag is just making sure we're covering all of our ground.
This question is in regards to si va a haber suspensión para los alumnos que se pelearon. It's in regards to directly asking if the students will be suspended. I can share with you that the students have been addressed according to our student code of conduct, and they did receive discipline. The second part that I have is more of a comment. Como madre de familia, yo creo que no debe seguir pasando esos tipos de problemas. Solo queremos que como padre de familia estén bien nuestros hijos y tratar de aconsejarlos y no estar en problemas. Creo que es nuestro deber estar atento de nuestros hijos. So as a mom, she believes that, of course she doesn't want students to have these problems, and they want the best for their children. They want to give their children advice so that they're not in these problems. And they believe that it's the parents' responsibility to be over their children.
Luana Silks, parent of Angel Hines, she wrote this on the front page, so I'm assuming she wants everyone to know. I want to speak with the parents. I'm an active parent, and on the board, she's active on the site-based decision-making committee with me, and we meet once a month as a staff, and she is encouraging you to be involved. Next question is, how can we help the students become better? Again, I think taking care of your child, knowing what their grades are, knowing that their attendance is good, knowing that if they're not in class, signing up with our automated system, what's called student and parent self-serve, getting those automated messages when your kids are not in school is the first step. The students that were not involved, again, what Ms. Orozco said about those that are not involved in the fights that we had going on Friday and the fights happened, these all have, none of the students that were in class were involved in these. It's the students when they left campus. It's after school. It's past 3:30. Know where your children are. If your children are telling you they're staying after school for homework center, verify that. Follow up with an email with the teacher. Did my student go to class or not? Look at their grades. First thing that we look at least when I'm trying to assess whether or not a child is being successful, is I look at their attendance, look at their grades. We work with students all the time. There's no reason why our students cannot be successful with credits. We're constantly working with students, giving them multiple opportunities to be successful. The grades have changed all the time. It's a fluid thing. We don't stop until they graduate in 4 years or less. That's our goal. Okay? But this first step is know your, and then the other thing I will tell you is that this business about social media is really, really important. Look at your children's phone. You pay for the bill, I'm assuming, and if you pay for that bill, ask them to see the phone. Who are they conversing with? Who are they talking to at night? Who are they talking about meeting up during the school day when they're not in class? Be involved with your students' friends, because the friends are the ones that sometimes influence the kids to make bad decisions.
This is a comment. Necesitamos más seguridad para nuestros estudiantes. We need more security for our students. There's a question in regards to cameras. También hay una pregunta sobre las cámaras en la escuela. We do have cameras in the building in common areas. There's also a suggestion in regards to a scanner for students to scan their IDs upon entering the building. También pongan una alarma en cada puerta de las entradas para que los estudiantes escaneen su ID.
So the next questions are we willing to put or leave metal detectors all year long to prevent accidents on campus? And then what security measures are in place moving forward so these incidents do not happen anymore? Two-card questions, I'll put them together. So we do random metal checks all the time. This morning we had extra security given to us by the district from other high schools. There's a limited amount of resources. Every school is allotted certain number of security guards. I know the district is currently working on a bond proposal, potentially having a bond in the future to support additional monies and staff. But it's something that we're constantly working at. Again, I believe I have one of the best security teams in the district. They do a good job of relating to the kids. They do a good job of again, making sure that they're encouraging them to move forward. We all believe in the same values that I talked about. Are we perfect? No, but we work hard every day. And again, if I have a security guard that's not meeting expectations, we go through the proper training that we need to go through to ensure that we're, again, following the campus values. We believe that all kids have potential. But again, what can we do to prevent students from happening? Again, this is where we're seeking input. This is where we want your help. How can we do some things with kids who are not connected to the school, they're not connected to their own family? Well, there's some things that we could possibly do. And again, I'm just looking for input from you at this point and some ideas that we have based on research, based on things that we're studying together as principals.
There are two questions in regards to the same topic, whether or not the students are students of Sam Houston. So esas dos preguntas sobre son los estudiantes que estaban en la pelea, si son alumnos de Sam Houston. So of the identified students in the fight, yes, they are Sam Houston enrolled students. So si son estudiantes de Sam Houston.
Next question is, what can I do better as alumni and community member to serve students to ensure that the playing field are level? I'm gonna tell you, we have one of the best alumni association in the city. We do, thank you. If you're an alumni association member, could you guys please stand? I know we have some in the back over here. Got one here. These are graduates of County Campus. They donate their time. They donate their money, they raise money for scholarships for our seniors. They provide incentives for our teachers to kind of keep them around going. They are my surrogate PTA. We don't have a parent-teacher association here at Sam Houston High School. We tried, we kind of just fell through, we just didn't have enough parent support, and another part is about that. But the Alumni Association does come there. They meet once a month, every month, on their own time. They have no children here at all, but because of the love for this school, they give their time and their effort and their money, which I greatly appreciate. You guys do enough. You really do. Thank you. Thank you.
This is a comment. Esta reunión esperamos sea de bien. Gracias por la invitación. Cualquier cosa no duden de avisarnos siempre, okay? Thank you for inviting us to this meeting. This is a good meeting. Whatever you guys need, please advise us, always. There's another question in regards to si el niño anda afuera en otra clase, ¿cómo puede regresar? So if a student is outside, how do they come back? So we do have open lunch where students leave and return for juniors and seniors. In addition, we have students that travel to the CTC Center and the Ag Center that take classes in other buildings, and they travel back to campus. And then we also have students that have off periods, first or the last period of the day. So we do have students leaving our building and coming back as their schedule provides.
So this is about how are the cameras monitored here at Sam. We have one of the best monitoring systems. We were actually one of the first to have the upgrades from the new bond that was passed in 2014. So we have a very, very good camera system. Yes, of course, just like anything else, we go through maintenance and operations and things break down or they need to be repaired. But again, for the most part, we had during the school day a security guard assigned to the camera system. Sergeant Brawley's in the back. Sergeant Brawley, right down here, he's in charge of our security team. Does a fabulous job of monitoring, and we use that camera system all the time to again track down things that happen on our campus. We are no different than any other school in terms of the amount of issues that they deal with, but I will say per student, we don't have the highest number of incidents that occur on campus, and we don't have the lowest. We're right there in the middle, but yet we have the most students in the district. And we're just right there in the middle.
Mi pregunta es por qué no hay más seguridad en las entradas, checando a todos los estudiantes con detectores. So this question we did get earlier in regards to the metal checks. Sí tenemos seguridad en el edificio, so we do have security at different spots every morning, and we do checks where students are entering the building. So we want to be mindful in the morning, students are supposed to enter at Commons A or in the cafeteria, which is on the east side of the building. The second question I have is in regards to, ya tienen identificados a los alumnos que comenzaron el problema. So have we identified the students who started the issues? We do have identified students from the first incident on Wednesday, which occurred off campus. And those students have been disciplined and addressed.
Based on the number of students enrolled, I know there's a relatively small number of parents community here tonight. How can we as a community help you to get more involved with their efforts? Word of mouth. At your churches, be involved. Bring 2 more parents with you. Again, knowing who your friends of your children, invite them over. We have to, even though we're a large school, okay, in order for us to really, really get to know your kids and know the students that we have here, we have to break down in smaller groups. That's why we break down the 9th grade campus together. That's why we put the 10th graders together with assistant principals and counselors, and then 11 and 12. But the more you get involved with your children and you get to know who their parents are, and you invite them to things like this, the better. Right? And so it's just a word of mouth. I mean, I know, again, 90%, 89% of our parents qualify for reduced lunch. They're working 2 jobs, 3 jobs. I appreciate you all being here tonight. This is probably one of the better parent engagement, meetings that we've had since I've been here at Salmon. I've been here 7 years, and I know safety is important too. That's why you guys are here tonight. And again, that is important to me. We have teachers who are also parents here. They bring their children here. They don't even live in this district, but they choose SAM because they know the opportunities that we provide here at SAM. Like I said, there's a lot of good things happening here at SAM. The kids are earning scholarships. Those in the ADAM program are getting into college more than ever before. Things are going well for those students who are engaged in the school. But that's always the key, and that's for every school. If they're not engaged in something at school, they don't have a connection to the school, parents are not, know who their teachers are, that's where the disengagement occurs. So I don't really have an answer to this. This is the $1 million question to solving the dropout rate that we have, nationwide. But I know we're getting better, and I know we never stop trying to do things that are innovative, again, creative, again, doing the studies that we are doing together. We're trying to reach those kids that just traditionally have not been reached.
Okay, this question is in regards to qué pasa cuando alguien alumno no se le permite participar en un deporte. So what happens if a student's not permitted to participate in sports? So luckily the student, or hopefully the student has been informed of the reason. I know sometimes students are required to have health physicals, but we do provide a lot of services for that. If the student is removed from any sporting event or sporting participation, please have them talk to their assistant principal. So that is someone that they can communicate with and communicate with their coach as well. This question says, los maestros se deben de molestar si uno le pregunta a su hijo si está bien por el teléfono. Are teachers supposed to become upset if a parent calls to ask about the well-being of their child? I'm not sure if this is in regards to the lockdown or if just in general. But if there is a concern in regards to an employee, you can come and speak to any of the administrators here in the building. So assistant principals, myself, or Mr. Benavides. This is more of a comment. La educación comienza en la casa y nuestros hijos son el reflejo de los padres. The education begins in the house, and our students are a reflection of our parents.
I believe that more precautions should be taken in concern to the trouble-making students at SAM. Instead of focusing on IDs to limit strangers on campus, since it seems that the ones causing trouble are SAM students. I also think that money spent on remodeling should instead be used on better security, such as metal detectors. So I have to care about all kids. I shared with you the values that we share are all. And all means all to me. Todos estudiantes. Okay? If students are having difficulties, we are working with them, but we can't do it all. Clearly, we're not being as successful as we want to with the last 20% that we're trying to reach. But these kids matter too, and I shared that if you don't believe that, then really this is not really the school for you to teach that and work, right? So respectfully, I will tell you that I promise you, your child, if they're not causing any trouble, they're getting all the services that they need, and we're giving them all the opportunities that they can be successful, okay, respectfully. But the kids who are not, I gotta care about them too. I'm gonna hold them accountable. I am. But at the same time, I'm loving on them. I care about them. They're not being successful because they don't have love at home. They don't have the support system at home. This is the gap that we're trying to close, and we, again, can only do so much. But again, that doesn't mean we're not trying. That doesn't mean we're not being innovative. That doesn't mean we're not studying. Again, I was gone all week long because was it Friday because I was at a conference learning on how other schools, just like San Luis High School, are doing it just a little bit better than us. There's not a single school that serves schools like us that are at 100%, but I do believe that we can get it to 90%. That has been my goal ever since I've been here for the last 7 years. We started at 59% graduation rate, right now we're up to 80. And that's in 6 years. So we don't give up on your children. We don't give up on this community of children. And that is the mentality that we have to have. This is a community of children, a community of students. Our kids, if they're successful, they will come back to this community and they will take over and create a better life for themselves and your families. We're trying to change that in this community. And the support of our board, the support of our alumni, again, we're doing everything we can. So again, I respectfully say that those kids matter too.
Buenas noches. ¿Cómo podemos estar seguros que todos los involucrados en la pelea van a ser castigados? So this question is in regards to how can the parents be assured that all of the students in the fight will be receiving consequences? And so I can share with you at this time from the incidents from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we have approximately 40 students that we have identified and addressed in alignment with our student code of conduct.
So another way that you can connect with us is joining this Remind text message services. So we have the ability to share, I know, again, those that don't have maybe access to home, but many of us have cell phones, that we can connect this way. Anytime we go into emergency lockdown, we're using a text message services to give you that information, okay? It changes every year because I want to kind of exit the parents who are seniors and they no longer have children, but every year I will update this. Take that picture, that's the code that we have for the Remind 101. Many of your students use that with teachers. Teachers send out Remind text message to your students to remind them about tests coming up, about field trips coming up, about deadlines. Again, you text 81010 at SHHS-CAMPUS. And that will get you where we will directly give you information about what's happening at San Houston High School. Okay? All right, here's another one. Despite the incident and the seriousness of the incident, I want to say thank you. I received many calls updating me on the lockdown and when it was lifted. Also the follow-up call regarding the incident. You provided insight. This meeting also provided helpful insight on the incident, but also the supports in place. Thank you to continue serving for excellence. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the final one here is why don't we use metal detectors all of the time or most of the time? So we are stepping up the metal detectors randomly. It's just a cycle that we have to, we're trying to do as much as we can during the operational day to ensure the safety of your students. But again, as I told you before, for the most part, we have relatively safe students. It keeps kids from being in class on time if we're constantly doing this. Our children are being dropped off at 6:15 in the morning. Those kids get in. I'm here at 6:15 in the morning letting kids in the building. 6:15. We don't start school until 7:35. I literally have hundreds of parents dropping off kids at 7:35. If they're dropped off right at that time, and going through the metal detectors takes 20 minutes sometimes. Today it took about 15 minutes. We have 3 entrances to the building, to the compound, like the area that we serve, right? It's like Dallas Cowboy Stadium on game days. It's hard to get in here and be on time, right? And so we struggle with that all the time, with our traffic in our streets, which we can't control. So we do it when we need to. We do it randomly during the day. It's organized, it's structured. But again, when we know the threat, or we think there's a threat on our campus, we're certainly working on to ensure that we step up those metal checks. Your children are really our first eyes. They know what's happening. As a matter of fact, the fight that happened, I guess, Wednesday, after the fact, many of the students said, oh yeah, we knew about it. So encourage your children to say something to us. Tell us about what's happening. Again, they know because they see the social media, and if they share that with us, then we'll do everything we can. But are your children safe in school, in class? Every day. Every day they are. Thank you for coming tonight. If there are no more questions, we are going to be around here to answer any questions you may have that you couldn't think of. And again, I want to thank all our leaders for being here tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you.
What's your meeting look like?